It was a Tuesday afternoon, and for Elon Musk it was one of those days where everything seemed to pile up. Meetings dragged on longer than planned, emails demanded immediate responses, and critical decisions loomed over him like a storm cloud. His mind, usually sharp and focused, felt weighed down. Even for someone known to work 80 to 100 hours a week, there were moments when the relentless grind caught up. Elon stared out the window of his office, the Los Angeles skyline sprawling before him. The chaos of the day seemed unending, and for once he craved an escape. Not a lavish vacation or a high-tech retreat, just a moment to step away, to feel normal, to hit reset. And that's when an odd thought crossed his mind. Taco Bell. The idea was so random, so out of place that it made him laugh under his breath. But the more he thought about it, the more appealing it became. He grabbed his keys, telling his assistant he'd be back shortly, and headed out. Little did he know, this decision would lead to a life-changing moment. As Elon drove his Tesla down quiet streets, the craving only grew stronger. Taco Bell wasn't part of his usual routine, and yet it felt like the perfect indulgence. He couldn't remember the last time he'd allowed himself something so simple, so nostalgic. It brought back memories of his younger days, when he was just another guy pulling all-nighters, coding until his eyes burned, and surviving on quick meals from places like Taco Bell. The thought was amusing. Here he was, the man envisioning a future where humans lived on Mars, craving something as ordinary as a Crunchwrap Supreme. As he pulled into the parking lot, the scene was refreshingly mundane. A small Taco Bell tucked between a strip mall and a gas station. The neon sign flickered slightly, and the smell of seasoned beef filled the air. It was a stark contrast to the high-stakes world Elon usually inhabited, but that was part of its charm. Elon walked into the restaurant, the door chiming as it closed behind him. Inside, it was exactly what you'd expect. A few customers scattered in booths, the hum of a soda machine, and the faint crackle of the kitchen fryer. Dressed in a simple black hoodie and jeans, Elon blended in perfectly. No one gave him a second glance, at least not at first. He approached the counter, scanning the menu even though he already knew what he wanted. 2 Crunchwrap Supremes, he said, his voice calm and unassuming. The cashier, a young woman in her 20s, froze. Her eyes darted to his face, and recognition dawned. "Hi. Welcome to Taco Bell," she stammered, clearly flustered. Elon gave her a polite smile, pretending not to notice her nerves. He handed over his payment and stepped aside to wait for his order. As he stood there, his mind began to wander, thinking about the endless tasks waiting for him back at the office. That's when he heard it. A hushed conversation, barely audible, coming from a table nearby. It wasn't the usual chatter of teenagers. There was something urgent, almost desperate in their tone. "We have to do it tonight," one of the boys said, his voice barely above a whisper. "If we don't, Mom's not going to get better." Elon's ears perked up. He turned his head slightly, trying to listen without being obvious. The boy speaking couldn't have been older than 14. His face was pale, his brow furrowed with worry. Across from him sat another boy, younger, likely his brother. "But what if we get caught?" the younger boy whispered back, his voice shaky. "You know what they do to people who steal." The older boy leaned in closer, his tone insistent. "It's just the cash from the register. No one will know. We'll be fast. We need the money." Elon's chest tightened. Steal? The word hung in the air. He glanced over more directly now, taking in the sight of the 2 boys. They were hunched over the table, their shoulders heavy with worry. Their clothes were worn but clean, and their eyes carried a look that no child should ever have. Fear mixed with determination. As Elon picked up his order, he felt conflicted. He couldn't just walk away after hearing something like that. But confronting them directly might scare them or make things worse. What could he do? He needed a way to approach the situation carefully. He turned back to the cashier. "Can you add 2 more Crunch Wraps to my order?" he asked. The cashier looked puzzled but nodded. With the extra food in hand, Elon took a deep breath and walked over to the boy's table. "Hey," he said casually, holding up the bag. "Mind if I sit here for a second? I ordered too much food and thought you might want some." The boys froze, their eyes wide. The older one's face hardened, his body language defensive. "We didn't do anything," he said quickly, his voice tense. Elon smiled gently. "Relax. You're not in trouble. I just figured you might be hungry." The younger boy hesitated, his stomach clearly winning the internal battle. He reached for the food, unwrapping it slowly. The older boy watched him, then reluctantly followed suit. For a moment they ate in silence, their nerves still visible. "I couldn't help but overhear," Elon said softly, breaking the silence. "Sounds like you're dealing with something tough." The older boy's jaw tightened. "Why do you care?" he shot back, his voice sharp with distrust. "Because I've been there," Elon replied honestly, "feeling like there's no way out. But trust me, there's always another option." The boys exchanged a glance. Slowly, the older one began to speak. Their mother was gravely ill and needed expensive medication. Their father was out of the picture and they had no one else to turn to. They had tried everything, odd jobs, selling what little they had, but it wasn't enough. "We don't want to steal," the younger boy said, his voice cracking. "But we don't know what else to do." Elon's heart ached for them. He could feel the weight they were carrying, a burden far too heavy for kids their age. "Look," he said gently, "I can help. I'll cover the medical bills and get your mom the medicine she needs." The boys stared at him in disbelief. "Why would you do that?" the older one asked, his voice filled with suspicion. "Because sometimes we all need a little help," Elon replied, "and because you're brave enough to care about your mom, even when it feels impossible." He pulled out his phone and made a call. Within minutes, arrangements were underway. Their mother would receive the care she needed, and Elon assured the boys he'd stay in touch to ensure everything was handled. The tension in the boys' faces began to ease. The older one's shoulders sagged, and the younger one let out a shaky breath. "You'd really do that?" the younger boy asked. "Absolutely," Elon said with a smile. "You're not alone in this." For the first time, the boys allowed themselves to hope. Tears welled in their eyes as the weight of their burden began to lift. As Elon stood to leave, the older boy whispered, "Thank you." His voice was thick with emotion, but the gratitude was clear. Elon placed a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder. "You're stronger than you think," he said. "Never forget that." Driving away, Elon couldn't help but feel that this small act of kindness had made a bigger impact than any rocket launch or innovation. In his car, Elon reflected on the encounter. For all his success and ambition, it was moments like these that reminded him of what truly mattered: human connection, compassion, and the power of helping others. What do you think led Elon Musk to Taco Bell that day? Was it chance, instinct, or something more? And have you ever witnessed or been part of a moment that changed someone's life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.